Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this practice session. This session is based on, to begin with, sitting practice so that you could have a chance to practice a lot and study situation is in fact the second stage. With the study situations that we find, if there's no practice involved, then people have a difficulty in understanding what we are talking about. So I would like to encourage all of you to practice 100% according to the program that we have. So that seems to be the most important thing of all. In terms of the idea of study, the caution is to start at the beginning. The meditative discipline is founded on the principle of working with one's mind. Usually, it is quite hard to work with one's mind. And it is very difficult to tame one's mind. Ordinarily, we choose all sorts of ways to calm ourselves down by eating, drinking, reading newspapers, lying in the sun, lying in the dirt, watching televisions, and numerous ways that the very generous Western cultures provides us with all sorts of stuffs. And more we get any form of entertainment of that nature to supposedly relax and calm ourselves, we find that our mind is further reacting beyond that level altogether. So there is another way to work with our mind, which is the Buddhist discipline had proved, worked, practiced for 2,500 years. And to begin with, our training of mind, we do not look for any possible way of entertaining ourselves at all. We start with so-called ourselves, and that so-called ourselves consists of our mind and our body, our environment. So in order to establish basic situations of a continual practice atmosphere, the first thing comes first, which is, instead of standing or laying back on your chairs, we decide to sit on the floor, on the meditation cushion. We sit with our posture and very ordinary and extremely basic. By sitting on your meditation cushion, you find sense of a connection with the earth and finding a spot. You have a front, back, and right side, left side, and have a ceiling. And you go beyond that. With that, we take good posture so that we would feel a sense of head and shoulders and a sense of upright in your posture. And that first step could be said is extremely simple and ordinary, but that also could be very profound and very powerful, that we begin to find out the basic decency in ourselves, that we can sit like a good human being should be sitting. And the real and the simple. And with that, then we prepare ourselves for the next stage, which is the practice of meditation itself. Which is dealing with the physical body and your mind. And the first thing you come across is your own breath, natural breath, swimming, good posture, and then you begin to have a breath which is goes out and in, quite simply, ordinarily. Which is the foundation. Posture is the foundation, and breath is fickleness and also steadiness combined together. And the breath is also the mood of the mind, as well as breath is a connection with the body and the earth at the same time. So we reflect on our breath, identified fully, traditionally out breath, and we find ourselves bored if we begin to do that for a certain period of time. And out of boredom, all sorts of discursive thoughts begin to arise, and we look at them by saying, thinking, they are neither good nor bad. They are a basic experience of your frivolity, your restlessness, and then come back to your breath, make further connections again and again. The samsara and the confusion and the pain that involves in our life is based on nothing but unable to connect with ourselves, our basic being, properly and fully. Once you are able to connect with our basic being and working with the breath, that you have solved your enormous problem to begin with, that you begin to realize the life could be extremely simple, and there is no need for a particular philosophy to provide a further boost of any kind. As you said, you begin to hear sounds, also thoughts. You can see, thinking, and begin to feel the temperature of the room, feeling, and so forth. Everything's thinking process, thought, come back. In that way, that we could at least simplify the samsaric problems altogether, and we will be able to be like the Buddha. The wisdom is in the simplicity that way, so that we will at least able to be with ourselves to begin with, which has become a problem in a long time, that we can't even be with ourselves fully and thoroughly. So if we could be there on the spot, that is the first decency, very decent thing that we can ever do in our life. Being steady and simple and very ordinary on the spot. And that seemed to be the first phase of the heart of meditation practice. And I hope you'll be able to work on that situation to begin with. And if you'd like to have any questions, please welcome. Excuse me, can you use the microphone?
You've mentioned restlessness, and I've experienced restlessness persistently for a long time. And I wonder, are you trying to conquer restlessness in some way?
Well, what we are trying to do here is trying to work with the restlessness so that we have some experience of the restlessness means nothing. It needs a discipline, not necessarily wipe out or conquer even, but the contrast could be dealt with, so that there is a steadiness which actually might provide more restlessness, further more sophisticated ones as you go on. But nevertheless, you are not to get shocked by it, but simply you can come back to your breath. And everything's all right at that point. And very straightforward. So you are not particularly wrestling with the restlessness. But come back to the consistency of the breath, and the restlessness becomes meaningless.
Well, it hasn't become meaningless as yet.
Well, you have to sit before we say that. You have to find out more. As they say, proof is in the pudding.
Rinpoche, is it on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rinpoche, you mentioned that the breath is the reflection of the mind. I'm not quite sure what you meant by that statement. I think that's what you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, the breath is that which works with mind and the body together. Breath is also the portrait of the mind, in some sense. When you are highly involved with the intense emotions, your breath changes. And when you feel lazy and sleepy, your breath changes. So breath is that which communicates to your body how your mind is working. Therefore, in the sitting practice, good posture, which brings good breath. And on the other hand, that good breath also reflects in your mind at the same time. So it has influences taking place to your mind at the same time.
So it's really a reinforcement when your mind is, say, racing, your breath is racing. And
Yeah,
by coming
yeah.
back to your breath, it's sort of
Is a regularity,
doubly.
regularity and the orderliness of your thinking process according to your sitting posture. So it is always linked that way. So that's why good posture is important, and therefore working with the breath is also important. But one never specially breathe for a special situation, but just a natural breath. As long as when you have a good posture and sit down and get ready, and traditionally you don't start reflecting on your breath right away. Allow yourself a few seconds so that you can work with your breath.
I have another question. I'm not sure whether it's in your writings or in some of the discussions I've had, but the general comment that I remember is that when you initially start meditating, you're really fooling yourself. You're not really meditating. It takes a while before you become a real meditator. Or, in other words, you're imitating the situation.
Yeah.
Are you understanding the point I'm getting at here? So, I guess the longer you sit, the more that becomes obvious to you.
Well, I think the question is that sometimes there is unwillingness to really do it, but just pretend to do it. And also there is some kind of hypocrisy that you don't trust yourself, what you're doing. Like if somebody says to you, trying to be a rock, and first you have to pretend to be a rock, then you find yourself as being rock, which comes much later. It's that kind of thing. First to pretend to be Buddha, assume his postures, where he attained enlightenment, and then finally, to your surprise and a great shock, you are there already. So there has to be some kind of humor. If all things are completely dead serious, and you can't even follow your breath because you're so deadly serious.
Rinpoche, I wonder if you would comment on why it is so important to meditate with eyes open rather than with eyes closed, and perhaps describe what one does with one's eyes when meditating.
Well, you see, the interesting thing about that is if you close your eyes, that also suggests that you should block your ears as well. If you're going to shut down all sense perceptions at once, you should do the whole thing. But that doesn't particularly help very much. It's almost like a sensory deprivation tank approach. And in this case, we are working with the sight and sound, feelings, and touchable objects and everything. So therefore, just the breath is the only guideline situation. And your ears open, your eyes open, and your nostrils not blocked, so you can smell as well. So dealing with the phenomenal world that way. So we are not particularly talking about closing in. You see the point there? You can wear your even spectacles so you can see. Hearing aids, if you like. You can still keep them on.
Sir, I'm finding that I seem to be having difficulty in communicating as well with my friends who are non-practitioners as I do with Sangha members, and it's painful to me, and I'm not quite sure how to relate to that.
Well, what are you trying to communicate?
My friends who don't practice sometimes don't understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And I say something like, well, one needs to practice to understand. And they're not willing to really give it a try. And so there's really nothing more for me to say. Mm-hmm. And so there's a sense of understanding, perhaps not going quite as deep as sometimes happens with people who practice mm-hmm. together.
Well, I think that's quite hard in a way to communicate exactly what you are doing to somebody who has no understanding of the nature of the practice and discipline involved. Even if they have some understanding, supposing like you say that you are a regular churchgoer, and they might understand what does it mean. But on the other hand, they probably form a special opinion about you. So it will be quite difficult. But the main point is that when you talk to your friends outside of the Sangha, not lay your trip on them, but purely by example. And you probably will find, and they'll say, you seem to be different. What are you doing? If it's an old friend who knew you from childhood, and what happened, there's something taking place in you. And then you may be able to trickle out just a few informations that you're practicing, but not just to publicize widely the whole thing. And it is obviously very tempting to tell your secrets and open up. But at the same time, if you do it too much, it will be very shocking to them. And they will be so startled, so they might become deaf and dumb. So there's that kind of problem. So I think the question is some kind of patience and also manifestation of your demeanor, where you carry yourselves as Buddhist, a practitioner. That should speak much more. And the interesting thing is that according to the Buddha's life, that when he first, after attainment of enlightenment, he met his old friends, his colleagues who had been practicing together, and he said, I'm an enlightened one. And several of his friends said, I don't believe it. And then when they heard him teaching, and the way he presented the teaching, where he took his situation, handled himself, then they become one of his first students. So that goes along all the way, whoever we relate with. Well, maybe you could close this point, this stage. As I've mentioned already early on, please try to make this practice session worthwhile. And your sitting practice is very important to do this. so we have more feelings about what we are talking about. And I am hoping that the discussion we might have in the evenings will be based on a practice-oriented discussion. So that if you have practiced during the day, you will have a more understanding about what we are talking about, and that will be very helpful. And thank you very much for joining us this particular session, and take delight.